Whew. Hey man,
Appreciate y'all dealing.
I want to personally thank you for giving out 85% of my portfolio tonight.
My bad.
I want to thank you in advance. That was
But
impressive.
when you get in is most important. So
That
stock
is
club
true.
members, when you hear me be like, hey, here are some of the ones, and you're like, why would you give it? If you got it 8 months prior to when they did based on my price, turn on investment gonna be different. So
Yeah, I haven't heard Data Dog in a while. Ian. I had Data Dog at $80, and it's been on a ride. Got up to 117, peeled back all the way down, and then now it's creeping back up in an uptrend. So I'm glad you said that one. I haven't heard anybody talk about that. And then Shadi knows I'm big on Salesforce. I actually convinced
that's
him
what
to get into the position.
I'm not betting against Benny off.
Every
Nowhere.
2 weeks he reminds me about it. So
Yep.
I appreciate you confirming that for us.
Yeah. Hopefully, Salesforce definitely rises on that one because I'm in Salesforce heavy, courtesy of Troy.
Well, it's a slow creeper. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a lot, man. A couple of things out because I was taking notes and I'm looking at the notes that I had written for tonight, and I'm like, wow, you just covered that. But the Snap thing, I know we had apologized about that. That was one of the companies we covered early on in Earn Your Leisure, one of our first episodes.
Yep.
And to see it's how it's rebounded, how it's performing is outstanding. And I think last week they announced a deal. I'm not sure if everybody saw that. They announced a deal with Universal Music Group, which is the biggest record company in the world. So to see Snap sign a deal with them tells you a few things. Number one, they definitely are coming for TikTok. And two, they have an advantage now because they get the artist's music before anyone else. So you got major, I mean, if you can think of any artist, they're probably signed to a subsidiary of Universal Music Group. So that's interesting. That's a great play for Snap. Obviously, it's going to compete with Facebook, with Instagram. So big deal and nice performing by Snap. Anybody that was involved in the Snap um, allocation or who has put money into the Snap as an asset, shout out to you. Congratulations on that.
yeah.
That's one of the ones I dropped the ball on.
Snap is definitely has built a solid company. Before we even go into that, I want to just remind people. Ian had mentioned it early on, the flash sale for Red Panda. If you're interested, I believe it's pinned in the YouTube section, right, Troy?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is on
The
YouTube.
link.
It's at the top.
So,
Yep.
so the link to the stock club is pinned on the YouTube comments and is also in the description of the video. So if you're interested, as he said, I think it's a 24-hour flash sale, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
for the stock club. So the link is there. If you are interested in it, you can click the link in the YouTube pin or the description of this video. Yeah, but Snapchat is an interesting company because we definitely spoke about Snap early on. I think episode 3,
Maybe. Like maybe
4
2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
of Earn Your Leisure, not even Market Mondays of Earn Your Leisure before. So this was like 2.5 years ago. And at the time, things were not looking good for Snapchat. Snapchat stock was spiraling out of control, and it looked like they was about to go under. But they have done a good job quietly of building a nice company. They're not Instagram, they're not TikTok, but the stock has rebounded. Snapchat, their growth has rebounded, and Snap is one of these players that it's legitimate. It's a legitimate company that has a solid base, core support. It's been tested. It has survived the test of time, and it's doing well.
Yeah, it's one of, I think at the time, and people probably can't even think back this far, but at the time we had seen Instagram just swallow up their competitors. Every function that a competitor had, remember Vine, right? We were like, all right, well, whatever Snapchat has, oh wait, Snapchat has filters, Instagram is now putting filters. So we were just like, you know what, it's going to be tough to survive Facebook when you're a brand new company who hasn't even seen revenue. But they've managed to do it, man. I know they have shows. Shout out to PTG. They got a show on over on Snapchat. So they got exclusive programming. And obviously now with the Universal deal, that's pretty big. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and we got to look. Snap was at 11 in April of last year. So when everybody missed out AMD, Nvidia, Microsoft, CRM, DraftKings, they were one of the few companies that was under 20. They got a nice bounce. They're 70 now. I always tell you guys, like, if I dropped the ball, even my guys, like I told them I didn't think it would get that high, and it did. But It was one of the few ones that was under $20 and then it ran up. Like, I don't think, let me ask you guys, I'll survey you. Who, if you have a Snapchat account that you use actively, put Snap in chat. The advertising platform is amazing, and that deal with Universal, I'm sure we'll see Shiggy or somebody on there real soon. So,
shout out to our boy Shiggy. Yeah, Shiggy's our guy. Other big news, Ian, and you kind of mentioned it in your great presentation today, was Facebook hit 1 trillion market value for the first time ever after the Federal Trade Commission. Their lawsuit got dismissed, man, and just when we thought tech was dead, right? So, what are your thoughts? We saw that the stock grow by 4% earlier today. Like I said, I got off the plane and I looked at the NASDAQ. I said, that's up 140 points. Man, it's good to be back home.
I know, right?
Yeah. So
target for Facebook is my personal target 525.09 in 3 years. I think Zuckerberg is underrated and slightly unappreciated. Wall Street doesn't love him as much as other tech founders. So they don't love him how they love Dorsey. So I think the stock should be higher for what they have WhatsApp and Instagram. If any other company had those alone, they'll be at 500 minimum.
And that was what that's what the lawsuit was about. It was like, are they creating a monopoly by having a WhatsApp and having an Instagram? And so now that the case has kind of been halted, dismissed
for now,
back to business. You know what? When I was looking at the report, it was interesting because I heard Facebook monopoly, you hear Apple antitrust. There's a company that nobody kind of mentions when it comes to antitrust over the past 5 years, and that's Microsoft. They kind of just sneak by with everything, huh?
They have a competitive edge and care about the users. Oh, and shout out to my guy Clint. He sent it to me earlier. They are going to do computers as service model later this year. So you'll be able to log into the cloud and use the entire Windows interface without even, that's going to be a game changer. Of course, it's going to be hosted through Azure. 2 tech, 2 index.
And when people say, a lot of times, I think somebody mentioned this in my financial planning class last week, they might not be familiar what he means by saying 2 tech and 2 index. So for anybody that's new, because I know we get new listeners every single week at Market Mondays, and I realize that there's a lot of people that's coming into the space that might not have ever invested or they're just beginning to invest. So I always like to just kind of like, walk people's hand through it if we can. So when Ian refers to 2 tech, 2 index, I'm sure you probably heard him say that a lot of different times. He's talking about an index fund. So you have the S&P 500 index, you have the Russell 2000 index, where it's like a microcosm of the market, where you like the S&P 500, you have 500 companies from different sectors that makes up the market. Russell 2000 is 2,000 companies. So, the Dow Jones is another index. So that's what he's referring to with the index. And then obviously 2 tech, that's just, 2 tech companies. So whether it's Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, these are all tech companies. And the big tech companies, the acronym is FANG. And that stands for Facebook.
Go ahead, you got it.
Facebook, Apple, Netflix,
Amazon,
Netflix, and Google, right?
Yep. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, because I saw somebody put that in the chat, and then I think somebody mentioned that to me the other day. Like, what exactly does he mean by 2 tech and 2 index? So you can play it however you want, but that's kind of the strategy. And even when we had Mark Cuban on, it's different variations. He said he's invested in 1 index, that's the Russell 2000, and he's in Netflix, and he's in, what was the other tech company he said he's in?
Google,
Netflix, and Google. So it's not 2 indexes, but it's 1 index and 2 tech companies. So it's around that. Like I said, you can play around with it, add an ETF to it here and there, kind of spice it up however you want. But that's kind of like the blueprint of what he's referring to when he says that.
Yeah, and when you guys are asking which ones, VGT, VOO, Apple, Microsoft. So as long as interest rates don't go to 11%, the strategy will work. If interest rates goes that high, banks would be what to invest in fintech. So I tried to reverse engineer and go back through history and say what conditions in which it won't work. If interest rates are extremely high, the strategy will break down. But outside of that, with tech ruling every part of our life, that formula for me, because I created it for me, I didn't create it to share it. I wanted to work for 150 years. So when I started looking at what Ray Kurzweil was talking about and Tim Andreessen Horowitz, tech isn't going to slow down once we talk about life sciences, human cloning, genetics. That will all speed up. So that 150-year timeline, it should hold up over time. So that's where my thesis came from. Feel free to use it, but it's mine, so don't remix it. So if I see you posting on Twitter or IG and acting like it's yours, yeah, law firm be calling me, but use it and make all the money from it and tell me how great it is.
There you have it.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, it's only right that we do a little Bitcoin talk. But before that, Ian, you was talking about outer space, and I'm not sure if you guys caught this, but so we've heard the news. Obviously, Jeff Bezos is going to outer space on the 20th of July, right, to commemorate the 52nd anniversary of landing on the moon. Did you see that there's a petition signed by 134,000 people for him not to return? Did you guys see this?
A petition. I want Jeff to come back, but that's a petition.
From people from
there's people from change.org. There's people who saying that billionaires should not exist. He has 134,000 signatures saying to leave him out of space, which is absolutely ridiculous. We love Amazon and we love Jeff. Please, we need him back here.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument that there should not be billionaires, but when you start to go down that rabbit hole, and if we lean towards communism, ask anyone that's been in a socialist or communist environment, if they like. The truth is there is no perfect version of capitalism and no perfect version of any economic system.
This is
even
true.
In like a utopian scenario where everyone has the same level of wealth, same access to everything, they've tested it. There are levels of depression because there's no hierarchy in society. I think capitalism in Western society is extremely broken, but the trade-off is there are going to be heavens and hells in each model that we pursue or use.
Yeah. What do you believe in? What do you believe in? Heaven or hell? You don't believe in heaven because you live in hell. Shout out to the purple tape. Raekwon.
They call us the new Ray and Ghost, Shotty, of finance, man. I like that.
I'll take it. Major inspiration for us for sure. Yeah. Purple tape.